my whole.
Welcome to the Built on Air podcast. We are in episode 2 of season 22. Lots of twos today. Good to be with you. Got Ali with us and Scott Rose. Welcome back, Scott.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be back.
Good to have Scott on. He's a regular with us. Always good to have you. Camille is out today, so happy tax day to everybody in the U.S.
That's right. I was up late.
Distract you from taxes is an hour of Built on Air podcast. Well, let's get started. I'll walk us through what we're going to be talking about. We'll start with our Around the Bases, get you up to date on all the news and updates going on. Then a shout out to our sponsor, Onto Air Backups, and how you can get started there. And then Scott's going to walk us through a workflow using Fillout for e-signing, PDF creation, and approval process. And then Ali's going to walk us through the new email webhook trigger functionality and automations. And then we'll talk about how you can join our community if you're not already a part of it. And then finally, I'll talk with, we found a bug, scripting time undefined. We're going to do some scripting time. I'm going to walk through the schema usage, answer a community question as well on there. And then we'll wrap up. Okay, so first with our Around the Bases, I'll first talk about last week. There was a big event in New York that Airtable put on, and Kevin Dunn, who is one of the leaders of the community, presented at it. I had a chat with him and many others. It was great to connect with all the community members and Airtable users. Howie was there, presented a lot of talk on future of AI, how Airtable fits in the AI world. A lot of cool use cases and everything. So that was great to meet many of you that I hadn't met before and many that I had. So yeah, it was a fun event as always. Trying to think announcements they made. They did talk about new academy things coming, new AI functionality, the one that we'll talk about next, the new feature. So yeah, let's move on. The big one that they announced, I think it was that day, was the Airtable Assistant went live. So that's the new sidebar that you see, AI chat, and you can do some things with it. There's one, I think, Ali, you brought up the one that I'm like, why can't they create records?
Yeah, that I just want it to do something actionable. Like if I ask a question, I want the response to be something I can then use in an automation or create a record with it. Or, I understand that there's probably some scary things that could happen if you just let AI go creating records in your base. So that might be why it can't. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to, like, if it could give me a response and then I'm like, yeah, I like that. Go do it. Like, that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, it does, like with automations and creating tables, you can get that functionality and then it'll build it. So that's mostly what I've used it for when it was in beta. So it is kind of nice to still be able to add new tables. But yeah, adding record data, I think, is a request I would make. It can do some automations, it can do some interfaces. It's kind of cool to go through that. I don't know, Scott, have you played with it?
Not with this new one, but like what you were just saying a minute ago, it seems to only create records for you if you start your base from scratch using the AI.
Right.
But then it seems to lose that power once it's done doing the initial base creation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's like, I'd love to be able to, like, if I'm saying summarize like what action items I should do based on this data, and if it gives me that list, I would love to be like, okay, add that to my to-do list. Like go create the tasks.
Yeah. So maybe that's something coming, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think if it gave you the prompt and said, here's the data, do you want to create it?
Yeah.
It should be okay.
Yeah. I got to feel that that's coming down the line, hopefully.
Yeah. So that was their big announcement, Airtable Assistant. And this, let's see. So this is on Team, Business, and Enterprise. And it does not require, like, it doesn't utilize your credits. Is that correct? Your AI credits? Do you have to have AI turned on?
I think you do, but I am not clear on like I mean, as per usual, I'm not clear on the credit usage.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Averaging and be available to all eligible. Maybe, yeah, it's under the AI, so you might need to have AI. Yeah, it's limited while it's in beta. Maybe, yeah. Well, now it's. I guess it is still in beta. Yeah.
Yay, Camille!
Just all right, there's Camille. Maybe she'll join us.
Oh,
no, she's
still at the. Didn't even know she had surgery. Congratulations, Camille.
Yep.
Very glad to hear it.
All right. So yeah, let us know how you're using the Airtable Assistant, what you think. And there is still like you can access it inside of an interface. There's an Ask AI, and it does have some limitations of like it knows what your role is, and so if you're not a creator, then I don't think it gives you the option to create new things that you don't have permission to do. And I think even I haven't tested this, but I wonder even if inside of interfaces, can you still like create tables and stuff, or does it limit that to just asking questions?
I haven't. I saw a video demo of somebody being like, in that. I think it's actually the image that came with this "What's New" post. Like, there's an animated version of it where it's like, great, now can you add this, and it's adding it to an interface, like in real time. But marketing materials aren't always indicative of what you can actually do. But
yeah. Anyways, moving on. So the other thing that came out to mixed reviews, they changed how you can insert the ad field menu. Thoughts on this?
They actually have refined it since, so it's a little bit better now.
Okay. What did they change?
Well, what they originally changed was that when you go to create a new field, I think, Ali, you were the first one who pointed this out in the Slack community. It no longer prompts you for the name of the field first. You actually have to choose the field type first, and then you have to go back and type in the name. So that was a big disorientation for everybody who's been used to creating fields one way. But the thing that made it more difficult was that you couldn't use your keyboard anymore to jump around. You actually had to stop what you were doing, use your mouse, click on the field type, then with your mouse, you had to go back up and click on the field name. So you had to continually use your mouse for every single part of the process. They've made it easier now over the last couple of days, where you still have to choose the field type first, but now you can use your keyboard to select the field type. And then as soon as you select the field type, your cursor will bounce up to the field name, and you can type in the field name there. I don't think we can hit return though anymore. That was something they took out as well.
You can hit return to save the field when you're creating a new one. If you are in the field name, you type the field name and you hit return or enter, it'll create the field. But if you then go to rename the field, that is the piece that's really slowing me down, is when you go to rename it. And let me just quickly see if it's
I was just going to check too.
It used to be when you double click on the field, it would also highlight the field name when the field edit configuration would come up. It would highlight the field name. I could quickly change it and hit enter, and it would save the field name. No more. Can't do that. And it's really slowing me down. I'm like,
exactly. And you have to, and because now when you edit the field name, it also doesn't take you to the field name. So you either have to click there or hit the tab key, but you're right. I just tested it right now. Yeah. And you still can't hit the return key.
Yeah. That's the piece. And that's been happening for longer than before. Like, that started maybe about a month or two ago, that piece. But just little UI changes that are like messing with me, but we'll get used to it.
Yeah, they're not power users thinking about those little things.
Yeah, it can really slow you down when you're creating a base or editing things.
Yeah. As Russ, I think, said in this post, it's rather habit breaking, which exactly.
And they've got these, well, maybe these aren't new, these little AI icons showing you which fields can be modified with AI.
That's pretty helpful.
Yeah.
That might be new.
Obligatory.
Yeah.
XRDT, XKCD.
Oh, that's a little comic, right? Where something
option to spacebar heating.
Changes in version 10.17. The CPU no longer overheats when you hold down the spacebar. And then the users are like, no, I needed that overheating behavior.
I love that. Ben's always coming in with the laughs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ben, thank you for the comic relief.
Literal. Yep.
Yeah, and then it wasn't just in the Slack community, over in the Facebook community, similar response. Not fans of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they listen to the feedback. Sounds like they did listen to some. All right, moving on. If you're interested in the world of AI, how to build like an AI agent, here's an example using Airtable. This uses N8N, which is a popular kind of automation tool that you can self-host as well. And so if you want to check that out, we'll have the link in there. Kind of cool there. Yeah, similar AI agents are taking over. Here's one, a podcast, or so the product guy has a popular podcast, had on VP of product, Anthony Maggio from Airtable, and they walk through a full use case for project management and talk about Airtable. So if you're interested in that story, we'll have the link there. Okay, there's a fun one. What if PM tools were action figures? Let's see. We've got, this is Notion, intellectual digital order. Let me create a page for that. Here is Airtable, creative and fast. I'll solve that with a formula. Operations.
I love that.
That's incredible. Was that one based on Camille?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has the exact same hair, but close.
Yeah. We got Jira, open a ticket, and then we'll talk. And Asana, patient and focus. Let's break this down into tasks. Right. So we got Monday.com.
That is hilarious.
Nice.
Airtable one looks like a superhero straight up. The others.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
pretty cool.
That's a real superhero outfit there. And look at that gun. There's a little Airtable gun there too.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, Scott, here's one from Table Forums. Attachment storage limit. I liked your write-up here. Walk us through what you're doing in this.
Oh, thank you. There, several of my clients have asked this recently, and I also saw one or two posts in the Airtable community forum about this, where people have reached their attachment storage limit and they didn't know what to do once they reached the storage limit, and how to handle that. And there's a bunch of different ways you could handle it. You could potentially create like another base where you archive your attachments when you've gone over the limit. But one of the things that I have done with a few of my clients is I've automated the process of the attachments that are older, that they don't really need to see anymore, will get automatically archived to a cloud storage space like Google Drive, for example. And excuse me. And once you actually, and so I typically use make.com for these sorts of automations. So using make on a schedule, every day it'll go into their database, and any records that are like over 1 year old, it will take the attachments from Airtable, it will upload them to Google Drive, and then it will get a link. It'll get a share link to those actual images, and it'll clear the attachments out of Airtable, but in a URL field, it will put the links to it'll put the link to the attachment. Now, if you have more than one link, you would want to then do a link table, with your URLs where it's linked back to the main record, because you can only have one, URL per URL field effectively. And so then basically what you're doing in essence is you're taking your attachments from Airtable and you're turning them into links in Airtable. Now, once you actually have those links in Airtable, then you could do a whole bunch of cool things with them. Because if you are working out at the data layer, you can use some of Airtable's extensions to actually preview those images right in Airtable in your extensions panel. So you can use either the embed extension or the URL preview extension. And which one you use depends on which link you use from Google Drive. You might have a link that leads you directly to the image itself. Then you have to use one of those extensions. I think it's the embed extension. But if you're using the link to the Google Drive page, because there's also a Google Drive page that shows you the image within it, then you would use the other extension, which I believe is the URL preview extension. So that's all from the data layer. If you're at the interface layer in Airtable, you can use the brand new feature that you guys chatted about a few weeks ago, which is that URL fields can now be displayed as previews of those images in your interfaces. It's a little bit hidden. You can't get to that option unless you make your URL a view only field on your interface, not an editable field on your interface. Oh, actually, I don't think you guys have chatted about that yet. I think that was in
that was
one of our Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that we actually haven't talked about that on the podcast. So that is a new feature on the interfaces. If you put a URL field on your interface and you make it view only, then you have the option to display that URL field as an image preview. So basically, if you go to tableforms.com, you can see my write-up here, and it sort of shows you how I do it in Make, and it gives you the different options of how you can display this information in Airtable. I actually did not show screenshots of how it would look in Airtable. Maybe I'll go back and edit this to show those screenshots. But it's sort of the best of both worlds. So with Google Drive, you can just, pay for more space. So you could just have unlimited attachments or unlimited images building up in Google Drive, but still be showing them in Airtable.
Very cool. Yeah, great write-up here. Lots of information. So very useful use case. Check that out, as well as other items on Table Forums. Scott spends a lot of time there. And good community there. All right, here's an interesting one. He also posted this in the Airtable in the Built on Air forums. Got some love here, Scott, from Alicia. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Alicia.
Okay, so on this one, so this is a developer, and he pulled all of his code from a Git repository into Airtable, and then was able to set up views and things like that, and then used Airtable AI to analyze the code, which I thought was interesting. Maybe a little overkill. There might be other ways to do this, but definitely interesting approach. And he was able to get some good insight into his code base by doing that. So that's an interesting one. Okay, this one was interesting. If you've ever accidentally deleted a lot of records and wondering how you get them back, this Demetrius walks through how they did it with a client. He's an expert consultant and had a client delete a bunch of records, and it happened Friday afternoon. So great timing, and he was able to get it all back restored over the weekend for his client.
Wow. Did they use the Airtable's restore functionality?
They did that to some extent, and then I can't remember all the details, but then they had to like do some mapping and some logic to maintain. So a simple restore wasn't enough. Some more work there, so definitely gets complicated.
He brings up a good point that if you're going to lose records, you got to do it on a Friday night.
Unless you're the consultant that they call Friday to fix it. Yeah. All right, here's an interesting one from Reddit. Here's a poll that they did, a little bit leading. Somebody mentions this, but seems like Airtable has been pursuing features that don't really impact our business, such as AI functions. However, we could already implement those features better ourselves via API or third-party services. We'd rather have the basics like modern forms, higher row limits, and higher rate limits on API. What do you think Airtable should prioritize? And out of 37 votes, 37 said improve the fundamentals versus adding new features.
Interesting.
There's some good back and forth as well on there, but yeah.
Yeah, they've done a pretty good job of crossing some stuff off the list in the last year or so, I will say. I've been really like the dynamic filtering. That is absolutely probably the biggest one for me.
That's true. That's a good one.
That's huge. Yeah. I still want to see more than 50 automations per base.
Yeah.
I'd still like to see the column headers wrap in grid view.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few record limits. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing always, I think.
Yeah.
It's the biggest roadblocker for many enterprise clients, I would say.
Yeah.
All
right. Last one. If you're looking for a three-way junction table, here's a script. There's a I think there is one in the script library to do this, but here's an improved one that Charles Peake built using AI. And so if you're looking for a nice script, there's one there that helps you to do that, but use at your own risk with free code like that.
And Camille also has that extension, right? The junction assist. What's that one?
Was it Camille or Kavan that had that?
I think Camille.
Camille had that extension. Yeah. That's right. She did. Yeah. So there's another one you could use. Okay. That concludes our Around the Bases. If you are running your business on Airtable, it's best practice to have your data saved and stored outside of Airtable. That's where Onto Air Backups comes in. Check it out now. Use Built on Air as a promo code, and that will get you a discount so you can get started and rest easy at night knowing that your data is stored safely outside of Airtable. Check it out. All right, Scott, if you want to share your screen.
All right. I'm going to try to share my entire screen here.
Okay.
Can you see my entire screen?
Yeah.
All right, great. So I want to talk a little bit about creating a workflow using Fillout that would be a combination of an e-signature platform and a PDF creation platform and an approval workflow, all combined together in Fillout. And, you know, a lot of us really love e-signatures. This is a really great signature platform that you can automate with Airtable. There's a lot of different e-signature platforms. And for creating PDF files, we also love Document for creating custom PDF files from your Airtable data. You know, there's all sorts of PDF apps out there. There's also craftmypdf.com, which is a good one. There's another one that I use with a bunch of clients that's called pdffiller.com. So we've got a bunch of different tools to do e-signature e-signing and PDF creation. And I wanted to combine everything together into one platform, which brings us to Fillout, one of our favorite tools, one of the most amazing tools out there. Recently, I think within the last year, maybe less than that, Fillout introduced custom PDF capabilities in their app. And I wanted to show you how you can combine everything together by just using fill out. So to start with, I sort of want to show you what the final result would look like first. I want to show you sort of what we're building up to. So what we have here is, let's say that you're running the Willy Wonka chocolate factory and you've got this PDF file here, and this is the contract that you want people to sign before they come into the factory. How can you automate the process of the person signing this PDF file, filling this out, and then they sign it, but then after they sign it, it goes into an approval queue where somebody at the organization, one of the staff members, then has to sign it after the participant signs it. So let me show you what this would look like from start to finish. And by the way, this is behind the scenes. I've created this very basic Airtable base here, which will keep track of all the people who have signed the contracts along with their signed contracts. So I'll show you what this would look like from the user's point of view. So here they come to your fill out form here, and it says Willy Wonka's Whimsical Emporium contract. We're going to start this form here, and then it asks them to fill out the information here. So Allie, I'm going to put you on the Willy Wonka tour today.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
We'll put in Allie's name here. We'll put in her phone number, say 25 years old. And then Allie gets to choose her favorite candy here from the list. And then any allergy information, allergic to wheat. And then Allie's emergency contact, because you know a lot of crazy things happen in the Willy Wonka factory. So we'll say, contact my mom as the emergency contact. And then here's the terms that they're signing to, that they're agreeing to, I mean. Fill out also lets you embed PDFs in a read-only format here. So if people want to see what the contract looks like that they're signing, or if you just want to list the terms as a PDF, they don't. I just actually put the blank PDF here, but you could just have the terms listed like in a field here that can scroll through it. And then you can come down. These are actually the same terms that I wrote on the form here. I just wanted to show off this feature here that you can embed PDF files on a form. And then you get to the signature field here. And so fill out lets you either type in your name, or you can upload your signature, or you could just draw your signature right here into the signature field, and then you say done. I've got it set to automatically put today's date in, and then I click submit. So that was from Allie's point of view, the person who's entering the factory and needs to sign the contract. And then if Allie wants to download the PDF with her signature on it, she can click on this link here, and it will download her version of the PDF. So I'm going to go here and just open it up. And you can see it's got all of Allie's information filled in on the form. And then it's got Allie's signature here with the date. And the staff member has not yet signed the contract yet. So I'm going to close out of this. And so what would happen behind the scenes, after Allie submits the form, you come here into Airtable. And here you can see we've got our first record created. Here's all of Allie's information that she filled out. We've got her signature right here in an attachment field. And I don't know why it's not, it was weird. That wasn't showing me the white background. But you can see it. You can see it here actually. And fill out automatically put the partially signed contract here. So this is what Allie just saw when she downloaded the PDF. We've got the partially signed contract so far. And then you can set up an automation in Airtable or a Slack notification, an email notification or a Slack notification, whatever you want. You set up an automation to alert the staff member that they have a partially signed contract, and now it's time for them to approve the contract. So in your automation, if let's say you're sending them an email, you would send them the link where they can go and update this record by including their signature. And then we're going to get the fully signed contract here. So the staff member now who works at the Willy Wonka factory would click on this link right here. That would take them back into fill out. And this takes them to a separate form. This is what fill out calls an update form. So in fill out, you actually have two choices of forms. You can have a new record form, which will create a brand new record in your Airtable base. And then you can also create an update form, which updates an already existing record that's in your Airtable base. So when the staff member comes in, they're taken to the second form, and it gives them a brief summary of what has already been typed in by the person. And it also shows them the participant's signature here. I actually had to put this on the form in order for it to show up again on the final PDF. So that's why that's here. Normally, you probably wouldn't care about seeing the participant's signature, but maybe just to make sure they actually signed it. So, although you can make that a required field, so it would always be signed no matter what. And now the staff member will click here, and then the staff member will either type in their name or sign it. So Willy Wonka is going to sign this one. And then the staff member is going to submit this. And, oh, I forgot to put the download PDF button here, but that's not really necessary for the staff member because the staff member probably has access to Airtable. And so if you come back into Airtable, you will see that now the staff member's signature has been updated here. And now we have the fully signed contract. So here it is. If we scroll on the bottom, now we have both signatures on the contract right there. So from start to finish, we have sort of an approval workflow. Or not sort of, it actually is an approval workflow from start to finish. And we've got the first version of the contract here, and then the final version of the contract right here. And I'll show you how easy this is to actually set it up in Fillout. So let's get out of the preview mode here. And maybe it might be really, really quick for me just to show you how to do this from scratch. And I'll just do it with one field just to make it really quick. So here's my Fillout main menu here, my home screen. And you can see I have the two different contracts here, the new contract and the update contract. So I'm going to create a new one, and we're going to connect to Airtable, and you can choose whatever theme you want. I'll just choose the basic theme up here. And we're connecting to Airtable, and I'm going to choose my Willy Wonka base here, and we're going to connect to our contracts table. And then we will call this new contract submission. And just for this demo, I'm just going to show you one field at a time, or just one field total, just to save time here. And so what we have here is we have all the fields that are in our Airtable table. And I'm going to bring out the full name here. Oh, and I'll also bring out a signature field. Now, what's interesting is our signature fields in Airtable, these are attachment fields. But if you are in Fillout, you can't just bring out the attachment field and turn that into a signature. What you actually have to do is you have to go to this other tab here. And this other tab shows you all these different types of fields that Fillout gives you to choose from, and you can map them to your Airtable fields. So they give us a special field here called the signature. I'm going to bring this over. And then if you click on this little gear icon right here, this will let you connect it to one of your fields in Airtable. So I'm going to connect this to my participant's signature field. And that's it. So we have a very simple form here. And when I submit this, this will create a brand new record in Airtable. But what we want, let me get out of this. But what we want is we want our PDF to be filled out with this information. So the way that you do that is you go to your Integrate tab up here. And one of the very cool things about Fillout is that you can have one form that actually, once the submit button is pressed, it will communicate with as many different apps as you want. Like when somebody hits submit, it doesn't just need to go to Airtable. It can actually go to Google Sheets. It can go to HubSpot. It can go to all these different things. And one thing that Fillout has added here is you can generate a PDF. So I'm going to click on this. This is the new thing that they added within the last year. And I'm going to bring in my blank Willy Wonka contract here. I'm just going to drag and drop that in there. And then it displays the PDF for you. So we know that we only have the full name and the signatures. So the way that you do this is you click on the Add Field button right here. and it gives you this little yellow box. And I'm going to bring this right over here because I want the full name to appear here. And you could change the font size. You can move it around wherever you want. You could change the color of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this to one of the fields on my form. So I'm going to connect this to the full name that was on my form. And then here's a demo field here. I'm just going to delete that. We don't need that. And then I'm going to go to page 2. And here is our signature field here. So what I'm going to do is they already put a field there for us. And I'm going to make that a little bit taller. And I'm going to connect that to the signature field that was on the form, the fill out form. So this connects to the fill out form. Then that fill out form, we connected that earlier to the participant's signature in Airtable. So this connects to fill out, and then fill out connects to the signature field in Airtable. And then here we don't have a date field on this form, so I'm just going to delete this. And that's it. So I'm going to save that form right there. And then the one final thing that you need to do is you have to go in here to your Airtable connection and you have to edit it, because we want that partially filled out form to show up in the attachment field in Airtable that we set up for the partially signed contract. So when you go into edit, when you edit your Airtable connection in Fillout, it gives you a chance to map all your fields from Fillout into Airtable. Now, we already did that on the form, so it already knows that full name should go into this field and the signature should go into this field. But we want to get the whole PDF to get into Airtable as well. So what you do is you add a new mapping here, and you come down here and you choose what attachment field you want. So I want the partially signed contract field from Airtable. And where do I want it to pull from? Well, once you create a PDF file in Fillout, it'll actually show up down here underneath Documents. And here's the PDF file that we just uploaded and that we just marked up. So you choose the PDF file and it'll go into partially signed contract. So now I'm going to update my Airtable connection and I'm going to go back to my form here. And now let's preview that and see how that works. So I am going to type in Dan's name here. Dan, we're going to type in your signature here. I'm going to say done. And now I'm going to submit that. Oh, and I forgot to put the download PDF button again here, but I'll show you how to do that as well. If you want the user to download the PDF, what you do is you go to your ending page of the form. And once you switch to your ending page, Fillout gives you a whole bunch of other types of things that you can add to your form, including the download PDF button. And then this is linked to the PDF contract that we uploaded. So when somebody clicks on this, it'll download their PDF. And now if we go back into Airtable, we will see that our participant signature is here. Here's Dan's name, and here's the partially signed contract. And then it's a very similar process for updating the form as well. So if you go back into Fillout here, you can actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna change this one to save time. I'm gonna change this. Normally what you do is you would create a brand new form from scratch and then make it an update form. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this existing form and change it to an update form. So I'm going to go in and edit our connection to Airtable. And instead of it being a create new record form, I'm going to change it to an update record form. And then Fillout gives you this link here that you copy from here and you paste it into a formula field in Airtable. And that will give you the link so you can update that particular record in Fillout. And so now we've got the update form here. I'm going to update this. I'm going to go back into edit mode. So now what happens is now whenever you are editing information here, you're actually updating an existing record in Airtable as opposed to creating a new record. And the way that I like to do this is I don't want people to actually change the information that's already in Airtable. So I like to just put it on the form in a read-only version. And so, and you could see what I'm talking about here. If I click on our previous form at the beginning of this demo, you could see here that this is all read-only information from Airtable. Nobody can change this information. And the way to do that in fill out is you bring over a paragraph block, or you could bring over a couple of these different ones. Some of these allow you to just type in them. And what you do is you use the @ symbol, and then you go down here and you say that you want to pull in from the updating record. So I want to pull in the full name from the record that we are updating in Airtable. So this field right here, people would be able to change it. So I'm going to delete that. And then this becomes just a read-only field. So I'll say full name there. And then very similarly, I'd go to other here, and I'd bring out a new signature field. Well, I already brought it out here. We have the signature field here. And this time around, I want to connect this to the staff member's signature. And so now, and I'll change this so we know, staff member signature. However, what's interesting is we actually do need the participant signature on the form in order for us to mock up the PDF, to mark up the PDF, I mean. So I actually do need to have 2 signature fields here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll down to signature at the bottom here, and then this will be the participant's signature. And there's actually no way to lock this off from being edited. So you only want really trusted staff members to come in here that may not accidentally erase that. And so now this will be the participant signature. So this signature is linked to staff member, and this one is linked to participants. And then back at you can also get to your PDF from here as well. So I'm going to go back into the PDF now. And now the full name, we actually need to change the fields now, because this was looking for the full name field that people were typing into, but we're not doing that anymore. So what we want to do is we want to bring in the full name field that's coming from Airtable, from the updating record. So I want to pull the full name from the record that we're updating. And then on page 2, we want to take the staff member signature, put that one down there. And then we want to add the field for the participant signature from the form. So the reason this is different, this page 2, we're doing differently than that page 1, because when it comes to images, it cannot display, as far as I can tell, it cannot display an attachment field on a PDF form. I'm actually going to email them about them and ask them, maybe that's coming in the future. So it actually has to be converted to a signature field first on the form, and then you could put it here. But you can't go directly from an attachment field in Airtable to a PDF form. So I'm going to add the 2 signatures there, and we're going to save that. And now we're going to see what this looks like. So now we're going to preview it right here, and I'm going to preview the Dan Fellers contract right here. And there's Dan Fellers' signature, and his name is read only. And now I'm going to put in the staff member's signature here, Willy Wonka, and I'm going to say done. And then when we submit this, it should go in here. Yep, there it is. It updated the existing record. And in a moment, we will see the fully signed contract. Oh, you know what? I might not have mapped the fully signed contract. So let's go back and check here real quick. We're going to go back to integrate. We're going to edit. And it actually it actually went back into the partially signed contract. It was mapped, but I forgot to map it to the right field because I was reusing that form. So now if we go to partially signed contract, we'll actually see the fully filled out contract. And then here you have both signatures on that form there. And that's it. So a complete e-signing, PDF create, and approval process workflow all done from fill out.
It's awesome. Well done.
Yeah, I love that.
Very cool. Good stuff, Scott. Thank you for showing that. Fill out is an amazing tool. It really
is, isn't it?
Yep. So good stuff there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ali, let's do some email webhooks.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so this is actually something I just thought of doing yesterday and tried it out and was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do this, like for real. But this is obviously just in a sample base right now. So I have this horrible habit, and I'm sharing my entire screen right now, so you can probably see it, which is I have this terrible habit of opening my emails and minimizing them at the bottom of my screen. And the reason is I hate using the flag feature in my email client. I never ever look at the flagged emails again. If I flag it, it's disappeared forever. It doesn't work for me. So I just need it to be right in front of my face, right? So, but the terrible thing about it is that I had never learned my lesson here. If my computer dies, which happens way more often than I would think, the battery runs out, all of these emails are gone, and I don't know which ones I had like opened and put there to save. So I literally never learned this lesson, and I'm like, oh, you know what? What if I put them in Airtable? And I didn't want to individually add them, and yada yada yada. So enter this new when email received trigger. You know, you could do this without this trigger. It just makes it a little bit easier. You could have a folder set up in Outlook, or you could forward it to an email parser, or there's a million approaches to this, but here's just one. If you go into your automations, and actually this is an interesting thing. I originally had a different version of this base that was very old. And when I went to go add an automation in the old base, this trigger was not even available. It just wasn't there. And so I duplicated the base and then it was there. So I don't know if you don't see it available, maybe it's because your base is really old. I don't know. But maybe I'll write to support to let them know about that. So that's weird. But if you use the when email received trigger, what it will do is quite like the webhook trigger. It'll then give you something that you can copy to use as, in this case, an email address that we're going to be sending emails to. And in my case, I'm going to be forwarding emails to this address. This is actually interesting. They give you the option to prepend a prefix to that email address so you can quickly find it in your contacts. I haven't used that, but might be useful. Be aware that anyone with the email address can trigger the automation, and if you're using other things based on that trigger, you could see some weird stuff happen. So everyone know I'm going to be deleting this automation after this email. So what I'm going to do is you'd want to copy this email address, and then you want to send an email to it, which I will do. I'm going to shut this off just so we can step through it together. So I found email from my brother. That is actually back in January, but it's something a question he was asking me. So let's use this as our example here. You can see I've already tested with this several times this morning, but I'm going to forward this email to that email address, and I'm going to hit send. So now we can go and test this trigger, and it should show up with a new email, and there it is. Got all my stuff in here. Now, what I have always found annoying about translating emails into records in Airtable for any reason, things can get very messy very quickly, and different email clients deal with things differently. So it's not something you can formulaically approach or programmatically approach in many cases. For example, the subject might end up with the forward on it, FW : or it might say re : or it might say spam in big letters, depending on what your spam filters are. It might mark something as a marketing email, blah, blah, blah. I could go on. I want to get rid of all of that junk and make it as clean as possible. And that was not usually very possible without the use of AI. So I am using AI to strip out all the extra stuff and add a couple other little bells and whistles to it. So I will show my prompt for that. I wanted it to do quite a few different things. So for first, I need the email address of who sent it, the email. And if you were to just go look at what the data looks like when you get it, I am the sender of this email because I forwarded it to the email address. I don't want to go with myself as the sender because that doesn't make any sense for this use case. So in the AI prompt, I am asking it, I tell it, I'm forwarding you this email. Please return in JSON format the following, where I'm asking for the email address of the person who sent the email to me, and asking it to return only the email address in lowercase letters with no extra white space. So that way I can use that as my unique identifier to match it up to a contact in my base. Then I want the body of the email, and I want them to get rid of any extra stuff. You know, don't return the email signature of the person. Don't return the header. Just give me the plain or the rich text of the body. The subject, like I talked about, I want just the relevant subject, get rid of any re's or forwards or spams, etc. I also want the date that I received the email, because if I go with just the date that I forwarded it to this email address, it's always going to be today, and I might not be getting around to actually forwarding the email until a couple days later. So I want the AI to find the date of the email that actually is accurate. Finally, I'm asking it to summarize the entire thread, so I don't need to parse through a million different things of it if it's a long conversation, and give me any actions that I want to take. And I'm having it formatted like a checklist in Markdown using little brackets. So then I give it the subject and the body, and when I test it, it gives me back a JSON object. Now you could do this in individual, just generate with AI steps, have like one for the subject, one for the body, one for etc. And I haven't actually done any experimenting to figure out what is more efficient in terms of credit usage. So I'm not the best person to ask on that, but I will find out over time. I don't know if you guys have any ideas there.
My guess would be how you're doing it here would be more efficient.
I think so too. That's why I changed it to be this way. But so the issue that you'll run into when you do it this way, if you get everything back in one big response, you're going to need to parse that into individual fields so that you can actually create your record using that data. So that's where the script step comes in handy. So I'm getting my response as one big JSON object like this. I just feed it in my script here as input value on the side. And then I'm just individually setting each of the pieces of that JSON. So I know what it should have in it are these 6 things. And just to be extra safe, I'm putting it in these little ternary operators here saying, if this JSON object has a property called actions, I want to use that. And that happens to be an array. So I'm just joining it with new line characters. Otherwise, I want it to just output an empty string. And if you don't output, the output.set is very strange. If you're basically, you always want it to output something. Otherwise, you'll end up with errors later on downstream in your automation. So I'm outputting just empty string if it doesn't have what I'm looking for. Otherwise, give me what I'm looking for. So that returns all of these little things. And when we test it, it'll give me a bunch of stuff. Then I can find a contact that matches. What I have not done yet is added conditional logic in. I'm going to have this branch eventually to be like, if you don't find the contact, go add it, etc. Right now, I'm just assuming that all of my people exist. And then I can run this as configured, and it'll create a task for me. And we can go look at that task right here. So this is what it looks like. It gave me a summary saying that these things, something's going wrong in this base. Cameron's investigating. This is the body of the email. It gives me the action items, any attachments that were in that email, which is pretty cool. So I'm super excited about the possibilities with that.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I love AI replacing regex. Think of all the shows we've done with regex.
Seriously.
Forget all of those.
Yes, yes. It's so funny you said. I was thinking the exact same thing when Ali was showing us that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
There's like no more regex.
In this case.
That is very cool, Ali.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. Like, I feel like I could just keep going and adding on to that continually, but I'm gonna try and keep it simple. I need to solve one problem at a time.
Love it.
Some love from Justin. Awesome. Well, that I think I'm going to save my segment for next week. We do have a hard stop here at the hour, so I don't want to run over, but definitely join our community. Amazing people like Scott and Ali and many other thousands. We're approaching 2,000. I just looked the other day. So we're getting lots of new users. And if you have something to share, come join us on the Built on Air podcast. We'd love to have you on and see what you're up to. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and our newsletter, and be sure to check us out online. And we will see everybody next week. Take care.
Right. Thanks. Bye.
Go get your taxes done.
Good luck.